How you doing, guys? My name is Justin. I'm creating a YouTube page. Um, I really have a story that I want to tell you. I got a book that I'm writing called The Belly of the Beast. I've been writing for about 7 years now. I spent about 11 to 12 years in prison, and I'm trying to get this book out to help the youth. The book is called The Belly of the Beast. Like I said, I started writing it years ago. I was in prison. I was on lockup at the time. Segregation, which considers the whole, is when you get in trouble in prison. My past goes on from when I was 12 years old to now. I'm 27 years old. I'm an ex-gang member. I'm an ex-felon. But I live my life now to the fullest. And this book, one day, I hope, will touch the youth to recreate something new, so the gangbangers and the people that's in prison that are young can realize that they can do something with their life. I want to start by saying that I appreciate my family, I appreciate my loved ones, my wife, everything, for supporting me in this. And I want to get this story to you. And one day I hope that when this book does fully publish, that it would touch people in a way, inside and out. People out here to realize they can help people that are in there to be changed. And also people in there that can realize they have hope. Because a lot of people get in prison and they don't realize they have hope. I want to start out also by saying that once this work is finished, it's never undone. Every day is a life process that where every step that I take, I have worries, I have scars. I spent 4.5 years on lockup, something called The Belly of the Beast. That's the reason why I wrote this book. I was 17 years old. The 96 most dangerous men in North Carolina. And I won't say I was the dangerous person. I was probably the most fearless in my heart, but also I was scarred in my outside and inside to where I just reacted. But I'm going to read this book to you, and I want you to take your time, if you can, really listen and push all the likes of the reviews that you can so you can support me. This is a new order that's going to help and move and make waves into this world, and I need your help at it. Okay, the introduction starts, the book's by J.D. Sheffield. The introduction starts out like this. My name is unknown to you, yet I'm here before you as an equal, to give you a message that's been a journey for me to carry. This book is a story of pain that needs to be heard and understood to the world. So you can walk in my mental and tearful footsteps, I need to go slow and experience to you the journey that is unheard of to the public. Let's strip your mind to the land of things, feelings you never would imagine our women and men is going through in America we live in, to the torture of systems within a system that is a face of greedy conduct that will be exposed to you to judge. We call it the belly of the beast as it looks of beauty. It holds a balance of power that punishes the people to become animals. And while so, the beast recreates you to have a monster that seeks out others from his brainwashed state of mind. I call it the beast is for many reasons for you to hear today. So you will go on this journey with me and will turn your world into a reality of truth. It starts out by that. When I was writing this book, I was going through a lot of war at the time with myself. I'd never thought there was hope for me ever to get out. Every day I saw death. I saw my friends die, people stabbed. And I reacted in my anger. My family was out here, I was in there. I didn't get mail like that because, I cut off my family for a reason over them years so I can survive. And no kid should have saw what I've saw. But I will be honest about one thing. In the warfare of our mind, it has created me to become a warrior out here, to go harder. And every time that I see a battle comes to where I might not succeed, or something happens into where my day-to-day life that might not be to my best standards, I still fight and realize I can use that to grow on and learn from. When I go on this book, you're going to realize a little more about it. So when I go to the process, I had 5 chapters I want you to really hear of, and I'm going to read 2 on this blog. And I hope that you can grasp some of the feelings that I put into this book. But bear with me. And okay, here we go. All right, chapter 1 is called The Beginning of Hell. Every chapter I write a little phrase of knowledge. It's either by me, or it's by a person I met, or by different philosophy people that are very, smart, and different other books that I've read from and gained insight from. But this one's for myself. It says, seek the knowledge and you will attain it. Lose the knowledge and as a world we will forget its meaning, because all alone the power there is inside of us waiting to be sought. All right, chapter 1, the beginning to hell. Lying in my cell floor naked, I felt the cement coldness play upon my body as death. The distance of separation to the real world was beyond far understood to even me. Loud noises screamed to me inside my head, and death screamed to me with no remorse or pity. I was 16 years old, and had been naked in this room for 2 days already, without no contact to anyone but the walls. On the 14th floor to High Rise Correctional Prison, my cell window that was wired with a fence had a small hole in it as a baby's fist. Cold air seeped into my cell that rushed my cell door to rattle, a loud banging echo. Emotions controlled me to hate the world. Fear told me to trust no one. Many struggles in life came to me as my friend, for nothing but pain was in my heart. Many struggles in life came to me as well. To understand the struggle, I had to hold on for dear life. By hugging my chest for hours, the heat intake kept me alive. Officer Hall, who worked there, came to my 4x5 window that I had in a gray metal door as a window and looked into it. He laughed at me, bundled up to my chest in the dark corner. I remember his laughing singing to me as the devil himself. Yet not even the devil I feared, for I was in a state of anger to the void within my heart. He cursed to me words that held a harmony, and all I could do was focus into this world of murder. This night, the milk cartons I had smelled of urine it held. I was hungry for peace and love. Many years of pain led to this night of the beginning. Many long nights of evil surrounded me. But at this age of 16 years old, I could remember was the beginning to me becoming a monster I never would see myself to be. At night, while naked, this officer sung to me names of cruel words as if I was a dog. He called me sentences that no human being should be called. Hey, you dog, you are no good to this world nor to yourself. Why not kill yourself? You're an animal, he cried. I can remember hating the government and hating the outside of people of society for allowing me to feel like this. I was placed on segregation for a fight that broke out with a fellow gang enemy and population. But before I give you my life story, I need to tell you something. I was scared, and at that moment in that cell, I became an enemy to myself and others. When the officer nights later offered my property back, I was butt naked. I was slowly coming to reality. A warm bed would be great. I was placed naked in my cell with no bed, clothes, mail, or even a roll of toilet paper because I spoke to a fellow inmate beside my cell. Yet the impact of the night sparked me inside like a light. He told me to get handcuffed by him so I can quack like a duck down the hallway and be handcuffed around a fan that was at the end of the hallway on this winter night. Just 1 hour, he told me. Just then, I would get my things back. After I did, he cuffed me to the fan and cut it on full force in my face. The rattling noise sung to me as a friend. My balls were blue already now, felt like rubber. I remember seeing his face in the booth behind the desk laughing. I just looked into his face with numbness. I would survive now, I told myself. No more worrying, for this would end soon. When he handcuffed me back to my cell and took me back, I came in and heard the slam of the metal door. Empty. He took the handcuffs off, and instead of cursing, all I did was cuddle in the corner alone, back to the world I was facing of death himself. So here I am exposing to you the truth. The whole world needs to hear this story. I will give you names, places, people, and truth. You will discover the society of lies and networking greed that is happening before you without you realizing it. I give you a story from the start that will add up. I return to you with a story that maneuvers the limits of the future that needs us to come together and fix. This is an emergement of truth to you. I have lived life to death many occasions and promised myself I would come. So here it is to you, our new start in life. When I was a kid, I was raised in a strict home, a home that was strongly by the Pentecostal faith. And you already know that without saying about preacher kids, my ego was against the world, and at the age of 13 years old, the first encounter with the law was after that age, and the beginning to a change in my life. Drugs, troubles at school was my only way to get attention. When my teacher asked me where life was taking me to do one day, I told her to be a drug dealer for a living. The kids who done their homework or got attention from teachers for doing good had me hate the educated ones. At home, I was grounded a lot, so I took the easy way out of life and read a lot of books. My dad had a business at his store that had a lot of books, so I took advantage of that. My family never liked the books I read, but it gave me a sense of hope and escape of the real world. My grades were awful, but I did it on purpose. When I look back, I was a kid that was afraid and alone, so I went off the edge of getting into trouble with the law. The probation officer told me I was going home for children because my family couldn't handle it. I got kicked out of my home to move in with my aunt. She kept me for a while until I was kicked out of her home because of my crime. From kindergarten to 8th grade, I went to 12 different schools, not because of moving, but for the reasons of being kicked out and not caring who was in the way. When they told me I was going away, I didn't care on the outside, but on the inside, I wished the people understood me. To pick me up and tell me they understand me. At Christmas, I felt alone while others laughed together. It all felt so lonely. When I was placed in Guilford County Detention Center in Greensboro, North Carolina, for children, I for the first time felt free. The feeling of the guards focused on me and my bad habits felt okay. I wouldn't go to the home for children, group home. I thought I would go to the road my father took before he became a minister in his church. Prison. What led me to go to this detention center for youth was a common law robbery. I broke into a store one night while on house arrest and stole a bag of chips and sat in the doorway waiting for the cops to come. I was already on house arrest 2 weeks before, with a bracelet on my ankle, and they put me on again. Ma had agreed to keep me at that time until the process would go through for me to go away to a foster home. I got a letter from my mom, who was in prison, and I wanted to go see her, so I thought I could if I just got locked up. The police took me to Greensboro, North Carolina, and placed me in a cell to process. While there, I heard hollering loudly of inmates screaming bad names to each other. I now had to be hard and not care to survive, I thought. Once they booked in, they made me stay on lockdown in a cell for 24 hours before being able to go on population. I remember my mind singing to me the people I left behind for good. Richard Wright wrote this. This is life, new and strange. Strange because we fear it. New because we have kept our eyes turned from it. Men are men, and women is women, and life is life. And we must deal with them as they are. And if we want to change them, we must deal with them in the form in which they exist. I know then what I felt was right. I knew the steps I had to become. In my head, I only knew what I knew not what I should. Life has many roads we don't understand nor ever will a lot of times. I figured I now was not alone. I had an enemy to fight now, and that was myself's form to live. All right, that's chapter 1, guys. This chapter right here, when I wrote it, I was going through a process, let's say years back, of memories, and I remember crying. Gang member around cartels, Bloods, Crips, folk, Vice Lords, every gang you can think about. And I was sitting in the day room as I wrote this, and I remember just crying, thinking about when my life started in crime. Really, man, I just want to love. I think we all want love to some extent. And love has many forms. There's false love. And in there I had many false friends and false family members who say they love you, but at the end of the day, they turn their back on you. And I believe if you really, really love somebody, no matter who they are and what they are, and if you really, really care for them, you're going to love them in the good times and the bad times, because we all have problems. My goal is to one day start a nonprofit organization called the Arts of Light Project. The Arts of Light Project, I wanted to be a project to help recreate the youth to come out of prison, to have a home, and be structured out here to become business owners, entrepreneurs, and become the new world of people. We as a people need to stand up to help the gang members. Not about just throwing them in for weed charges or throwing them in because, they wear saggy pants. They're taught this. They feel loved in certain environments for certain ways. We as a people need to come together and realize that we want a new world order, a new change in our life, a new structure in our day-to-day basis of surrounding crime. The people need to stand together. And I remember many times when I was 16 years old. Well, actually, I was 16 years old. The second chapter is going to go back into when I started 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. But I wanted the first chapter to start out when I was butt naked in that cell. For days, I was butt naked by myself, balled up in a corner, hating the world. I hated you. I hated the government. And I hated anything that wasn't of my gang set at that time. Do you know what I did? I felt betrayed. I felt that people did not love me for me. So when the officer come out with a stick and knock on my little window and tell me how a dog I am, how I'm nothing to this world, it built so much anger. I've seen people stabbed to death. I have seen people killed. I have seen people being betrayed and by their best friends, been beaten by officers in their little gang, bringing the drugs and bringing the knives in because that's how they make their money off the $10 write-ups. But I do want to start, like I say, the Arts of Light project one day. And I need your help. I need you to like and to subscribe to my blog. Just tell me that you like it. Tell me how you feel about it. What we can do together. Like the ads, because the ads is going to help promote this. It's going to donate the money to help this. And you will see a change in this. In prison right now, most prisoners have different religions. Muslim, Christian, witchcraft, Catholic, all these different people. And they're buying their kufis, their Pro-Rugs, the Rastafaris, whatever from these companies that are spending a little bit of money on it. And $40, $50. In the state of North Carolina, there's 40,000 inmates in the men's prison. And each one is spending hundreds of dollars per week from these companies that they buy from wholesale for these religious items so they can find some type of peace. I want to create one catalog. And like I say, you could become a part of this. One catalog for every religion. And they will send money orders to us and we'll sell it at a cheaper price to use that money to recreate their future. Have lawyers help them and help kids. Programs. There's a lot of good programs out there. And there's many ex-gang members, as myself, and as the people who are standing up today, that are doing great things. But we need more. And I need your help. Just to stand and just listen to this book. Tell me how you feel. Talk to me. My email is godfamilybusiness 77 77. I look at it like this. Life is too short. And God always told me, there's a guy who followed me who basically taught me the value lessons of life. He always told me, the stature of the man is not by his height, but by the way he carries himself and resolves his problems. The problem today is that we have a lot of problems with our government systems. It was about greed. The money that's spent in prison, and it's on the inmates. Everybody wants to say inmates. No, these people have names. Yes, some has done vicious crimes, bad crimes, but it starts when they're a child. And we need to hit the youth, attack the youth together. I've done wrong in my life. I've done so much wrong. You're probably going to find out a lot what I've done wrong. But I need you to realize that there's hope. It's 2016 right now. It's not all about your looks. It's not all about this. It's about how you carry yourself. I have achieved a lot. I have owned things. I have done things. I have thousands of dollars in these hands. But the thing about it, I accomplished it in this 3 years period that I've been out. And you have probably been going through a struggle. You probably have family issues. You probably got things in your children. You probably got things with your friends right now. And you might not even understand of the prison life. These are inmates, a prisoner. Oh, he's killed this person. But there's a story. How can we attack it from behind and conquer the whole nation of the trouble? And that's where we stand up together. Not one person can do it, not two people, nothing in an empire. This empire that's going to be created is, like I said, a new structure, a new understanding, a new order. and the order is about democracy of peace. I'm going to start on chapter 2, and bear with me. I am actually on another computer behind this computer reading it to you. And bear with me now. This chapter is called What is Right? We Really Don't Know. All right, like I was saying, there's a guy named Prince of Machiavelli. There's a little saying that I have on there from different great smart people that took their sayings and then wrote in my chapter. It's a small print. He says, Prince of Machiavelli, without doubt, princes become great when they overcome difficulties and hurdles put in their path. When fortune wants to advance a new prince, she creates enemies for him, making the launch of campaigns against him so that he is compelled to overcome them and climb higher on the ladder that they have brought him. Therefore, many judge that a wise prince must skillfully fan some enemy. Whenever the opportunity arises, so when in crushing it, he will increase his standing. Now bear with me, my friend. Okay. John was a start for me to my troubles in the system. He and I bumped many heads when a guy came to me with a deal I couldn't let down. To fight John, because he was being picked on by him and taken advantage of. I decided to take the offer of 2 hot dogs if I fought John, but wanted my hot dogs first. The boy gave them to me out of remorse, so at lunch I sat beside John at the table to eat them. When I first started the evilness, I felt butterflies in my stomach turn, and kind of liked the feeling. John was around 5'10", 170 pounds, had short buzz cut, dark skin. I was the only non-black there at the time, which color don't bother me. I felt hood enough was all I cared for. Color don't have no title to me, and it even doesn't now. John sat by me eating as I swung on him with a blow. We fought like animals for about 5 minutes of time. The guards couldn't restrain us quick enough. One guard got there, hand fractures, and still we didn't care. We kept fighting. When done, I felt not only butterflies feeling, but the control of peace. It was like I had power to control my pain when fighting, or so I thought inside my head at the time. They put me in a cell for 14 days alone. At 6 a.m., they took my property, my small 2-inch green mat, and at 9 p.m. gave it back. During the day, I'll sing to myself and think thoughts. Nothing in my cell, pure naked. About school, I'll think about family and just life. I cry at night to myself because all day in a small cell for 24 hours alone with nothing whatsoever played a toll on my sanity. No mail to read, for they held my mail in the front area until I would be off a lockup. The thought of freedom, population I wanted, just a little brain I held, didn't comprehend the reality I was in. When they got me off a lockup, back for the start of my life, I could say I experienced torture. The days alone, I could write in a book every day and still not tell you the real feelings that I've experienced. It's not right for a little boy, to feel pain in such a way not even a grown man can hold. But I will tell you this, I have learned the value of freedom very quick. Well, as far as I could, that is, back to population. When I came out of my cell at 15 pounds lighter, I had a bundle of letters from my mom held by the officers. She was in Raleigh prison, and all we both had time to do was write. I got locked up for robbery at that time, but had drug charges, fighting charges, B&E charges, and more robbery charges. So at the age of a teen, I had a deep pocket of trouble mindseted. When I got her letters, I wanted to cry, for she was in Raleigh, North Carolina prison, going through a time, maybe even as myself. All I could do was think of the memories and good times. When I left my house, I had turned 13 years old. The day the teacher told me I wouldn't make no more than a B average ever, I had it in my mind to prove him right. Who would stop me but me? There I was letting all my guilt hang me by my toenails day by day. My heart started to turn as cold as an icebox fenced in a deep road under the world. Who was I to become a lawyer, a judge, or a leader to a job only TVs know of? There was no faith in my heart because all alone that hope was tears of coldness coming in. Before I read Mama's letters, I remember I was in that cell cold alone. I literally spoke to the walls of how I felt and how I hated them. You know, no matter how many times you go through this in a cell with nothing but for you for days, There is nothing getting used to the fact of it. The times have proved this to me. There is no foundation of toughness that comes, only more coldness that deals with more pain. There I was reading her letters one by one. The scent of her perfume was on the paper, and all I wanted to do was have my mother. I could remember telling myself to not cry. It'll be okay, for people was looking. It'll be all okay. When I got to her words, I could hear John hollering through his cell door as I was out because he did not act right, hollering how he would kill me. The guard who was giving him his medicine through the trap door with the nurse didn't pay attention to me. Usually the guards open a small trap door to the cell and watch as the nurse hands him his medicine. Then pays close attention to him taking it by water. But this guard literally opened the cell door with his key that led to a cloud of mess. Okay, to open a door, the guard calls into his walkie-talkie the cell number from the front. Then he closes the door from the walkie-talkie. Then if a problem arises to where inmate acts up, they will open it with a huge gold key manually. The officer done just that. We slammed each other all on that cell block as he came out. My letters went everywhere in the block. The guards tried to break it up and call for code for help. But I went cold and reacted to what I call my animal mind state. I called it that is because I truthfully go into a state of murder when my life is on the line to die. People ask me if I am okay to experience this and can live a normal life now. I tell them yes, I'm okay as okay can get. No matter who you are and what race you are a survival. And the only way to do that is for you to be strong within your mind. Blood was everywhere as we slung around the block. We both had a good fight. John, who had later become my friend down the road, as a child had no one. He lived in the streets of Greensboro, North Carolina, the ghetto, South Side, and there was like no tomorrow. He lived like there was no tomorrow. He had no good family. He was hurt, but later he became my friend after many things we went through. They put me back into my cell by myself at a 24-hour lockdown period after this fight had happened. When I was told I had to count when I had to go to court afterwards, I was so out of it. All I remember was numbness and pain and hatred. Finally, they took me to court within a couple days. And the judge had told me, Judge Allen, he told me that I had a long road in that courthouse if I didn't act right. He was mean with his words, but I didn't care. Truthfully, all I wanted to do was go back to my cell and die. Yes, literally die. 14, 13 years old. But I didn't say nothing. All I done was ball up in my cell alone and sad. They gave me to my 18th birthday in training school. Let me tell you something before I go on. I've been in prisons, jail, detention centers, and will tell you, training schools for youth is the worst place for a child. Not only do you be around gangs from all over states, you learn the tricks of the trade. Yes, you fight. Yes, you see drugs, but no, it's not a safe place to help a child. And here's why. All right, that's chapter 2. Chapter 2 is a breakdown of when I first started going to the detention centers. I go back and forth. I started when I was 16 and it goes back to when I was 13. And eventually it'll come back up. I want to read one more chapter to you that I'm going to explain a little more to you. Then I'm going to leave this. I know this is a long time for you. I know you got to get back to your busy days. Sorry, 28 minutes. My father, he's a preacher right now. He actually is a Pentecostal preacher. He was raised in group homes. He was raised in foster homes. He done 15 years, had 2 life sentences. Murder charges. He was in a gang. All that stuff. I was raised pretty well until I was about, 11 years old. And I started getting kicked out and doing crazy stuff. What I felt in my heart at the time was that nobody loved me. They let me go. They let me go because they didn't meet their priorities at the time, because I was too hard to get along with. And the reason I was too hard to get along because the Pentecostal faith was so immersed into one type of thinking that it didn't give me freedom to experience all the kids done. We had no TV, no jewelry, no makeup. You used to have jewelry. No jewelry, no makeup. I couldn't wear shorts. I couldn't have a girlfriend. But either way, I'm sorry about that, guys. But either way, I couldn't experience those things. But when I became older in prison, I went butt wild. My youth was spent 21 different institutions, 21 different places. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm in the computer as a security threat group. But I have talked to many officers even down to here of how well I'm doing. I don't hang with groups. It's because I understand the elements of trust. I understand the elements of truth. These things might have started from a foundation of good deeds because of the struggle, because, of what was impressed at the moment. But did you know sometimes we want to blame the oppressor, but we are the oppressors ourselves? We recreate our future. We sometimes oppress others by the negativity that's brought in our mind, our way of thinking at that moment. And I'm going to get into chapter 3, and I'm going to show you something. It's going to go into a time that you're going to see something more. And when this book is finished, I want to show y'all the artwork I've done. After this chapter, I will. When I was on lockup for 4.5 years, 24 hours a day, I was 16 years old. I was in prison, and a gang riot had happened, and 2 officers got about killed. And they got hit with 10-pound weights because, was sending hits out like crazy. These people were innocent. They were doing their job. And for the first time right now, I'm going to tell you something. I was a fault to a lot of people's death. I was a fault not literally in my hands, but I was a fault to a lot of people's hurt. And I want to fix that. You might be right now going through something to where you have made so many mistakes in your life that you realize that, I made this mistakes here, I made this here. What can I do with my life? There's many times I sit here and I feel like a failure. But truly, let me tell you, you're not a failure. No matter what stage and part of your life, you might have a child that brought you to be stronger. You might have your job. You might have whatever it might be. You remember, there is no past that's going to destroy us, so we don't allow it. We learn from them. Most of the greatest leaders has been through something, experienced it. How can you say the fire is hot when you never felt it? Brothers and sisters, I come to you as an equal. And I can say I'm not an inmate no more. My name's Justin, my name's London, whatever you want to say. But I am equal to you, and you're equal to me. And I'm going to stand up for the people that are struggling right now, that feel like there's no hope, even though they're hurt and killing people, doing what they're doing in this lifestyle. They can still change. Some can't never take back what they've done. Like rapists and all this stuff. I would never agree with that stuff. But one thing I would tell you, we can stop it before it happens. These children that's getting raped, most of the time become the rapers. Or most of the time become the ones that are breaking crime because they're so hurt. They become murderers because of what they've been through. But guess what? We need to look at it a different view. I'm going to read chapter 3 to you, and I'm going to end this. And this one don't have no title to it. But I want you to really, really understand something about this chapter. This chapter right here meant a lot to me too, as well. All of them did. But I was going through, I remember, it's like detailed. It's like it's written in blood. This is written in blood and tears. One of my greatest friends, when I was writing, the bug got stabbed. I remember as I was writing, this got stabbed. I remember, not this chapter, but in this book, and a lot of things that happened. Got stabbed in the block, went out, had to go on lockdown because of it. Okay, here we go. Remember I told you a saying, and this is the saying when it starts out. Chapter 3. The stature of a man is not measured by his height, but by the way he resolves his problems. And here we go. I see many people in today's society fall into the dictatorship of rules that controls their personality upon false actions of another. The stature of a man is not measured by one's height. It is on how one can handle the situation and tests to come. Rules are rules for a reason, but not all rules has to be your character on how you become. Many become slaves to their own self's mind that is so out of control. I have learned this concept from a wise man who's Italian and have been around this world. He told me in every country there are so many rules, laws, and some places there are different meanings to it all. The trick is to control oneself and remember the universal law of man, that we are like a ball of energy connection, and we do things will affect others. If one hits a car down the highway, it hits another. Or maybe it don't hit another, then later that person is so out of focus from the wreck that he hits one himself. Or maybe don't but buy more cars, and that affects the family and the others around himself. It's a different way of looking at things. I told myself I'll live in this place, but never become out of control human as many as I've seen become. All right, when I was 17 years old in Foothills Correction, later I had 108 months to do in prison. I'd already seen death and life around that age already. One day, a riot had happened on the rec yard. Ace Unit, Foothills, Morganton, North Carolina. Two guards were watching about 100 inmates outside and tried to break up a gang meeting that was being held. They got hurt real bad, broke bones, teeth, and was left for dead on the yard, knocked out. 5 minutes later, other guards came rushing out to the field with sticks, mace, and had EMS come to escort the guard off the field. Had already gotten into a fight the night before with a fellow rival gang member. My hands was rough looking and bloody at my knuckles. When the officer lined all of us up on the wall, they checked our hands to see if we had any bruises or blood on it. I was escorted to the elevators that had handcuffed me beside a guard. He began to spit on me and tell me I would burn for this, and yanked me up from the back. While in the elevator, I was told to look in the corner, and as I did, the guard began to beat me in the back of my head. I looked into the camera in the elevator going to segregation, and while he done this and beat me in the head, I said nothing. I was known on the state prison as a threat group member, SCG Level 3, security threat group, already, so my words against theirs was nothing like white on rice. Literally, I could tell them I was dying. If they said no, that's what it meant. Rashad Carter was my friend. He had a second-degree murder charge and yet was a very smart guy. He, I know, is not guilty for the crime because we would spend long nights speaking about his charges, and now he had lost a friend who got shot to death at the scene. But we were tagged for life without a mark. I call it the mark of the beast with no end. No matter what, I looked to the society as an ex-prisoner, felony, and member of a gang. When the guard took me to my cell, they took photos of me and stripped me butt naked. Guards who took food around to cells passed the food by my door just because they could, so I didn't eat. Naked and cold, I turned my mind off from the torture. I went through my mind and found the stories of my past and related them to think of something positive. Naked, I turned away to what I knew best. Shut down. When they gave me the 18 months until my birthday and training school, I remember watching the rain pour hard outside as they had me handcuffed in the back of the car. I was a teenager by then. These are the memories that went through my head. I was a teenager by then, and I felt a man that day. Training school was where I would be going. That week, in lockdown from the fight with John, they told me to get ready to be shipped out. I wanted to go and breathe air, to move and see what it had in for me. The drive from Guilford County Detention Center to Raleigh, Wake County Detention Center, took a few hours. They booked me in and gave me clothes. In my dark blue sweatpants, I was escorted to a cell. Loud inmates hollered gang names to each other. Once the doors opened, I saw the new faces. They asked me questions, but I knew to not look weak. There was a guy there who kept eyeing me mean. Come to find out, he was a blood member who was a pretty big guy. I was 6 foot, and he too was around that height with long dreadlocks. That night, around 6 p.m., while we were in that day room, he made a wild joke of white boys and snow bunnies. Then he looked at me, so I waited for about 5 minutes and saw him talk to his gang buddies and took the chance. The feeling of hate came all over me from this guy. Not color, but I ain't racist. Most of my friends were black at the time. And even the gang life at that time, I didn't hate, just him. I swung on him with a hit hard as I could. The impact was loud. He fell. I knew the others would jump me, for I was new me, so I decided to leave an impression. It was all I could ponder on mentally. No one would play me, for I had nothing to live for, as I thought. My mind was set. It was me alone. They put me in a cell with only my clothes. For 5 days or so, I waited and waited. I ate in my cell and I slept. They fed me in there instead of regular population. The Bloods would scream names to me from their cells how I would die, or how my mother would be chopped to death with a contract on her head. Hell, I didn't care for none of that. The guards they had to ship me out to Dillon Training School quick. Wake County Detention Center in Raleigh was a process center for training school inmates who waited to go to training school. Then they would go to Dillon Training School for 3 months, process until they had a station training school in North Carolina for them to go to permanently. Dillon was wild. When they escorted me there and I got there, they gave me a light gray sweatpants and a pair of Swiss Adidas shoes, all black. The first encounter was with an inmate who was a blood member, part of their family, and came to me and told me he wanted my fresh pair of shoes, and if I didn't give him his shoes, they'd jump me. I looked the guy in his face and smiled. I could only imagine how he felt, but while going to my cell, I didn't budge or hit first. As I turned my back, he punched me in the head and we went at it. The feeling of being beat wasn't the main focus, it was the heart. Thought was a lesson I'll never forget. That was a lesson I'll never forget. To never let an enemy walk away without it being handled first. That I am more experienced with danger, I look at it different. But as also the same, I still hate arguments or any altercation left not to be handled. But I don't believe fighting is a big man's way to handle things. Just then, it was a war mind frame that eventually kept me alive to write you this. That fight was different. The guards didn't even see us do it. This was a youth prison for murderers, robbers, drug charges who were under the age to go to state prison. Weeks went by, and I was introduced to the folk nation. My big homie Jay was one who birthed me into it. He died years later in a shootout, but was a one cold guy. I would do his go man. I would be his go man and didn't care to fight anyone. Fight after fight, night after night. We jumped people or one-on-one. I was a different white guy, even though we are mixed with Cherokee and Irish. I didn't know any better, and saying white boy was my motto. A guy from Charlotte, North Carolina, gave me the name Country Black because I was a white guy with a black heart who was ruthless, cold, which many white people didn't act in as wild. The gang life is misread by many people. Not only do people judge it by the cover, they as well only see the bad part. It's got bad, yes, just long ago when it started, its motto, it was to help the people out of the struggle, not people into it. I see many gang violences in many groups. The guards who protect the people from criminals can be one. Some bring drugs into the system, while beat and misabuse inmates as well. Does that mean they're not evil? Convicts would say majority are is because many guards beated us just because the upper hand has it is as it is. It won't help us, nor will it ever be right. Just because we broke a law, many guards break them just as much in the walls, but get away with it. When I was in training school at Dillon, the guards would pay me in candy bars to jump on inmates who they didn't like. Yes, literally pay me in candy. I hear if one breaks, a crime is done. And there, if one does it in that uniform, then it's okay and guarded by their superiors. I was in the mind frame in training school to go buck wild, and so I did. The day I got in to see John again was a day we both would never forget. Both of us were not in the detention center but prison for youth. The moment I saw him get into that new process inmates unit, I had a plan, many on my mind of things to do. So I went into this chapter 3 and it started when I was in prison. When I was with the robbery charges and common law robbery charges, and it went into the riot. And then I went butt naked, and it's going to explain my 4 years of lockup and the torture I went through there. The 4.5 years, 24 hours a day with no sunlight. But then when I was butt naked waiting for that to happen, it went back into my memory in the book of the process when I was in training school when it started. Gangs is not always looked. It's frowned on by a lot of people. People don't understand it. Gangs is not just crip folks, bloods, vice lords, whatever it might be. To all the nations that arise of every color, gangs can be in politics. Gangs can be in foundations. Gangs can be in businesses, whatever. It's how people control people and use it to take advantage of it. But at the same time, the history between the gang violence, it was built on the struggles of life because the people going through that pain at the time they needed these groups, but it led astray. But at the same time, I know many leaders in blood, vice lord, cartels, Italian mafia, Russian mafia, whatever. I know all the leaders. And the thing about it is, these people are good people. It's just a misreading. The young people take advantage of different things. Now, I'm not affiliated with nothing. I'm affiliated with myself. But at the same time, I am speaking to you. who are in the blood, who are folk, who are crip. Some of my greatest friends that I've ever had that have been good people are in different sets. And I'm coming to tell you today, I stand up for the right thing. And the right thing is to never judge, because I was in your shoe. I understand the pain. Do I agree upon crime, breaking the law? No, I do not. I don't agree upon none of that. I'm trying to build a structure to help every color of every gang come together. I'm going to end this right now. I'm going to tell you that, like I said, please, please, please like the video and like some of the ads, because it's going to help donate. And I'm going to ask you more questions later to ask yourself how we as a people can come together. And I'm going to speak more. Email me. Talk about it. The thing is, you don't like and dislike, because I am, finish up the book. And the thing is, I'm going to be going through chapter 4 and 5 the next time we talk. And then I want to show you one thing. I really want to show it the next video, but I'm going to show it to you now. I learned art when I was on lockup. Like I said, you're about to learn into the next chapter about when I spent the 4.5 years. And this is the belly of the beast. This is literally the belly of the beast. It's a lockup. We're in a lockup under the prison of a prison. I'm going to show you a couple artworks I drew. This one right here is a puzzle. It's basically, this right here shows, this right here was my shower, this right here was the toilet, and it's a puzzle. It is called the puzzles to, it says the puzzles to life, the pieces to life puzzle. It's basically the puzzles we put together. I drew that one, and when you look out the window, and you're going to see later, this is actually what I saw day by day for 4.5 years straight. 4.5 years, that's what I saw. And I was 16 years old. And most of these people have been on lockup for 11 years, 12 years, 15 years. And some are never getting off. Some are probably there now or dead. That was my cell. It was an eagle coming in my room. And this room, I learned art. I didn't know how to draw. I didn't know how to write. And this is one of them. I'm just going to show you a couple, and I'll show you more later. This one right here is pretty good. It's inside rec area when I was on a lockup for 18 months. This is still the 4.5 year period, but it's 3 stages. And this is what I saw 24 hours a day. This is the same one. This is the one that's symbolic of death. These is not really good. I do portraits too. I'm gonna show you those later on. But that's a picture when you look into the hallway. This is a blood. Actually, like blood, lily blood. That's symbolic, the blood puddle, the pain. I got the shadows pretty good on that. This is when you look outside the window. One of the lockups I was on, I drew the block area. This one is called Who Are You? Looking the man in the mirror. Like I said, 4.5 years in this, and I looked at myself in that mirror many times, and I saw myself go from a 210 pounds to 160 pounds. Pure white. And I'm Cherokee and Irish, and I'm pure white, no sunlight. Do you know if it's light or dark outside? I stayed up sometimes. I would stay up, all night, read, work out, read, work out, read, work out, read, work out. But this is because of that riot that happened at Foothills, and I'll explain to you more next time. Who are you? You see in the mirror? That little black thing right there is basically the looking of the depths of the heart. It's basically the dark part of ourself and the pain. I wrote this one's from my niece. It's simple one, but I wrote a letter to her, and I put a little window right there. If you see this, really, I added that to it. It's a symbolic of her. She was born when I was there, my little niece. See a little door right there? You see a little bit. And this is just a reflection of the toilet I had. And like I said, I'll show you the many portraits I've done too. But this is actually a pretty good one. It's called the Midnight Wildness. It's just the midnight wildness inside of us. It's basically the wild part of us. It's the nighttime. Show it to you one more time. I want to end this. I want to tell you thank y'all so much. And it's been a good time talking to y'all. Like I said, push the likes, tell me how you feel, and I will get back to y'all tomorrow. And peace. And to all the people out there, just remember, there is hope. And always believe and live life to the fullest. You understand? Live life to the fullest, and we the people will come together. And I send my blessings to all your family. All right.